So the Superman movie is coming up, and I've seen the trailers and I know seen the different features and whatnot for it, and it looks quite interesting. But it's very strange when you break this movie down. There's some interesting good elements and some like green flags. There's also some serious red flags. So to go with the green flags first, let's start with the good news. There is the good news of Superman himself. The casting for him looks pretty good. The casting for Lois Lane looks pretty solid. The casting for Lex Luthor isn't the greatest, but it's again solid. It's better than it's been, than Jesse Eisenberg. So, it could be worse. So, you see some of the casting looks pretty solid. You see how colorful the movie looks. I like that. You have this hopeful element that's really been emphasized in the trailers and the behind the scenes. James Gunn's really talking about how good of a person that Superman is and how it's going to be a real feel-good movie, which I do look forward to. So there's some serious good parts to be put in front of there. That said, there's also some very strange things that they're doing here. Some things that leave some, not necessarily red flags, but very close to red flags. You have the amount of characters. You have Guy Gardner being in there. You have Mr. Terrific. You have Hawk Girl. You have, Metamorphosis. I think that's his name. You have all these different characters just running around, and you're wondering what's going on. The trailers have been very non-specific on what the plot's going to be like, which is something that you kind of want to a certain extent, but I at least want a little bit of a plot synopsis so I know I have an idea of what's going on, idea of the structure of the movie. But that's just a personal preference thing. But again, having all these characters, I don't think they'll be able to do all of them justice in time, but maybe they could prove me wrong. At the same time, there are certain elements of James Gunnism, his certain brand of humor that's a little bit more, at least a little harder for some people to get into. We saw this with a little clip of, Superman when he, crash landed into the Arctic, and then, of course, you see him whistle for Krypto, and Krypto just like leaps on the guy, just completely, injuring him even further. And that is something that, I'm not sure if it's meant to be funny. I'm not sure what it's meant to be. It's kind of just a really weird scene to watch. Now, of course, it depends on the people, because some people love that. Some people were like, that's exactly what my dog would do, but other people were like, there's no way my dog would do that. And other people who didn't even have a dog were just like, what's going on here? They just weren't just very confused by the scene. So you have something that's very confusing, and that's something that James Gunn has a whole lot of. You have, to finish off the scene, you have him, getting taken by the Superman robots, and you have some weird dialogue about how they're, have no feelings, there's no need to thank us, and then of course one of them has a very human-like moment, laughing about how Superman smiled at her. So it's very weird, it's very strange what it seems like they're doing here. And you have the whole Superman being healed by, the sunlight, sunlight healing him, and him screaming as he gets healed by that. It's very strange, So, and then of course you have the fact that he got beat up as bad as he did. That's also quite strange, Maybe this is near the end of the movie. I don't know, but like to see Superman that beaten and broken in the Yamcha pose, that's not great to see. That kind of rubbed me the wrong way immediately. But at the same time, there could be some good reasons why he is like that. So it gives you a weird situation, because you look at Superman as this really hopeful, powerful figure. But that's part of what makes him so hopeful. A great version of Superman is All Might. All Might from My Hero Academia is basically what Superman's supposed to be, the symbol of peace, this all-powerful, godlike figure who is on your side and is on the side of truth, justice, in the American way. So you have this character who, is really supposed to be not untouchable, but untouchable in a lot of ways, actually. He's supposed to be someone who, if he ever gets in a fight that's actually tough, it's a big deal in the first place. It's a massive deal that he would end up in the Yamcha post, something like that. And with it, even then, he would never be kicked out the fight like that. He would stay within the fight. He'd only come out after the fight is over. After he's already won, would he come home? So maybe that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be after a long, powerful fight with someone very powerful, just as powerful as Superman himself. He comes home all beaten and battered and gets fixed up. maybe that's how it's supposed to be portrayed, but again, I don't have the context for it. And that's one of the biggest things about this trailer, and the trailers that they've had, the marketing in general for that Superman, movie, is that you have no context for all the things that are going on there. Absolutely no context to understand what makes these moments so important or not important. So it's very difficult to really go with. And as a comic book fan, you have no context, and that you can only imagine that as a casual fan who doesn't know some of these characters, they're going to be even more, without any context. They'll be even more confused than I am. So the marketing is just so very strange altogether. I wish they would clean it up a little bit. But again, some people like the marketing, and there's an argument that you may want to actually be as, bombastic, as huge as possible, because being huge and being, massive is better, and leaving an impact on people, right, is better than just being kind of bland. You would rather leave an impact on someone than either good or bad, than just have it be no impact at all, So I can understand that might be important. At the same time, I wonder if this is really for Superman. Well, I guess we'll see. It's coming out with the Fantastic Four, which is another, another super movie, which I have other thoughts about. Maybe I'll link the video below in the description. But anyway, that's all I got for this video. I wonder what you guys' thoughts are on this thing, because it's very interesting to me. I definitely am intrigued and want to watch it. But at the same time, I'm not coming in there thinking I'm going to have a great time. I'm coming in there thinking that, not knowing what to think, really, which is, a bit of a new thing. So, well, I guess we'll see when we see it. So, like and subscribe, for further content. Leave a comment down below if you guys, agree or disagree. I'd love to talk to you guys about it. And I'll see you guys in another video.